Hello once again, gorgeous peeps, this is Chris from TechSpert and I'm here with the mighty Google Pixel 3 XL, a huge 6.3 inch beast rocking a bit of Android Pie. I'm going to do a quick side-by-side comparison with two of the biggest and best Android phones of 2018. Here on the left, the OnePlus 6 and here on the right, the Huawei P20 Pro, to see which one might be best for you. And don't forget, for more hands-on and comparisons with the latest and greatest mobile tech, to poke that subscribe button and ding that notifications bell. Cheers. So first of all, stick them all side by side and there's very little difference to be honest. Google Pixel 3 XL is 6.3 inches. The OnePlus 6 is a mite smaller at 6.28, and here on the right we've got the Huawei P20 Pro 6.1 inches. The Google Pixel 3 XL is ever so slightly meatier, so slightly bigger than the other smartphones here, mostly thanks to that big bezel down beneath and the fact that it does have that slightly bigger screen as well. Because P20 Pro isn't too far off because it does actually have the fingerprint sensor mounted beneath the display, unlike the other two which have them around the back instead. Of course, all three of these phones, the fingerprint sensor is nice and responsive and accurate as well. A quick tap and you're straight into your desktops. And of course, it's immediately apparent that notches are rather in fashion in 2018 because all three of these blowers do sport one up top. Just allows the display to reach all the way to the very top of the phone. As you can see, you get a bit of pertinent information either side of it, your battery life, your time, your Wi-Fi levels, all that kind of stuff. Over here on the OnePlus and on the Huawei P20 Pro as well, you do have an option of masking that notch if you're not a particular fan of it. And with that done, when you head back to the desktops, as you can see, just a thick black line is drawn across it to kind of hide it from view. Unfortunately, you don't get that option on the Pixel 3 XL. Flip them all around, however, and you'll see that they sport very different designs. The OnePlus 6 and the Huawei P20 Pro both have a fully glass finish, although in the case of the OnePlus 6, you can pick it up in a matte finish if you don't like this glossy surface, which does tend to pick up scuffs quite easily. You can also get it in a gorgeous red finish as well, which is almost a match, almost but not quite, for the Huawei P20 Pro's gradient design. It can be quite smudgy, of course, but the way that it sort of morphs from purple down to a blue hue is absolutely stunning. And if you go over to a combo, you can see my unboxing of the new Aurora model as well, which is even more stunning. You can also pick that up in some other different colours as well. However, the Pixel 3 XL stands out as very different from the others. It actually uses a combination aluminium and glass finish here on the back. It's quite difficult to make out on the white model, you can just about see there. It's definitely a lot more apparent on the black and the pink efforts. All quite neat finishes, but the P20 Pro definitely wins, or a top thumbs up for that stunning gradient finish. You do get decent water resistance in all three of these phones as well. It's full IP68 here on the Google Pixel 3 XL, IP67 for the P20 Pro, and you don't get an official IP rating here on the OnePlus, but it can take a bit of a dunking and come out completely unscathed as well. As for bonus design features, you get the alert slider here on the OnePlus 6 that just allows you to quickly thrust it into do not disturb mode in a jiffy. Here on the Pixel 3 XL, you actually get the active edge. You just give it a bit of a squeeze and it will load up the Google Assistant ready for you to chat at it and get any kind of information you need. And the P20 Pro doesn't have either of those options, unfortunately. And if it's headphone jacks that you're after, the OnePlus 6 is the only one to actually offer a 3.5mm headphone jack. The other two, you'll need to use USB Type-C dongles. So moving on to the displays, and in all three cases you get a bit of OLED tech, so nice punchy colours, sharp contrast, all that kind of stuff. You can actually fully customize the color output as well. If you dive into the settings and go into the display section, you'll see you get a good bit of customization in there. All three, of course, boast the usual night mode, so that just filters the blue light at night for a more comfortable, easy on the eye experience. As you can see, if you dive into the colors sections as well, you can really customize that output. So here, on the OnePlus 6, you can dive into the sRGB gamut if you want a very sort of realistic output. Otherwise, you've got the adaptive mode. You can dive into the custom colors and actually tweak the color temperature there as well. Same on the P20 Pro here. You've got the vivid mode by default, but you can slap it down to normal if you want more realistic tones. And again, here on the Pixel, you can have nice natural realistic hues, or you can give them a nice bit of a boost, make them nice and vivid. All three have nice bright displays, no problem on that front either. You can see them clearly in bright daylight. Unfortunately, here on the OnePlus 6, you don't have support for HDR video content streaming from the likes of Netflix, which you do get on both the Google Pixel 3 XL and of course the Huawei P20 Pro as well. That said, I can't actually get Netflix to load on the Google Pixel 3 XL full stop at the moment. There seems to be a few little software issues with the Pixel smartphones right now, so that's obviously a bit of a downer. But hopefully by the time you watch this video, that will have been corrected. And the good news is that the Pixel 3 XL is actually the sharpest display here. It's a Quad HD Plus display, so nice and sharp. All the same, the full HD finish here on the OnePlus 6 and the Huawei P20 Pro gives you some nice crisp visuals as well. Stick them all three side by side and you'll struggle to notice the difference. So if you view the same picture side by side, you'll notice they've all got nice crisp detail in them, and of course those colours really shine as well, depending on obviously which mode you decide to stick them in. The speaker output is also solid on all three of these smartphones. I slightly prefer the Pixel 3 XL, however, with those dual front firing speakers. As you can probably tell, the volume is rather powerful. So you do get some distortion on those top levels, but still impressive for a smartphone output, definitely. If you want to carry around a massive media collection, well, all three will kind of do the job. The OnePlus 6 starts off at a base 64GB model, same as the Google Pixel 3 XL. You can also pick up both in 128GB flavours, which is the only flavour of Huawei P20 Pro. Only comes with that 120GB storage. In the case of the OnePlus 6, you can also pick it up with 256GB of storage if you plump for one of the very most premium models. And in none of these cases do you get micro SD memory card expandability. Boo! As far as the software goes, all three of these blowers are running a bit of Android, but only the Google Pixel 3 XL currently has Android Pie, the latest version. Because the OnePlus 6 does mimic some of those Pie features, such as the swipe up to access the apps and everything that you can get here with the Oxygen OS update. And where you can swipe right for a bit of Google action here on the Huawei P20 Pro and the Pixel 3 XL. And the OnePlus 6, it brings up the shell feature. Just gives you fast access to your recent apps, your contacts, things like that, which I actually prefer, to be honest. You get some slight one-handed help in the case of the OnePlus 6. You can pull down that notifications bar from anywhere on the screen. Definitely good news, as it's an absolute beast. But we prefer the Huawei P20 Pro's solution. This just allows you to swipe across that navigation dock here at the bottom of the screen, and it minimizes everything on your desktop so you can run your apps nice and easily, and it's definitely a massive help when you've only got one MIT free. When it comes to the security, of course, all three of them have that fingerprint sensor, but only the OnePlus 6 and the Huawei P20 Pro also offer a bit of face unlock. And this works beautifully even in low light conditions. A quick tap of the power button or a raise to wake and it recognises your mug, and as you can see, most of the time you don't even see that lock screen, you're just straight into your desktops. That's something that's not offered by the Pixel 3 XL. It normally has the trusted face option on a lot of Android smartphones, but it's not available here on the Pixel 3 XL, and I really am not gutted at all because it's frankly pants. So you're stuck with just that fingerprint sensor or a good old pin entry, of course. Remember that, kids? Of course, you get a whole extra bunch of bonus features, gesture controls and everything. So for instance, you can flip over the Pixel 3 XL to shush it. You can do the same here on the Huawei P20 Pro. As you can see, you can also do the same on the OnePlus 6 here, flip to mute. You get a form of gaming mode on the P20 Pro and also the OnePlus 6. And of course, you got all the standard stuff like the Google Assistant on all three handsets as well. The Pixel 3 XL has got a couple of bonus Android features you won't find on these other two, such as a bit of call screening, which isn't actually available here in the UK yet, so I haven't tested it out, but it should hopefully be coming soon. And of course, you've got full support for the Daydream VR and a bit of digital well-being, which basically is just kind of like a digital nanny, which just says, hey, you're wasting your life on all this crap, man. You might want to go outside, look at some flowers or something. So if that's your bag, you got it right there. Good news performance-wise, because all three of these smartphones smash it out the park. Nice and nippy, no worries there. Your apps will basically load up the instant you tap them, as you can see there, no hanging around or anything like that. So if you're the impatient type, all three of these handsets will definitely do the job. You got the Snapdragon 845 chipset on both the OnePlus 6 and the Google Pixel 3 XL. However, that is backed by a choice of 6 or 8 gigs of RAM here on the OnePlus 6, whereas in the case of the Pixel 3 XL, it's only got 4 gigs of RAM. So as you can see there, especially with the multi-core score, you get a stronger result in Geekbench on the OnePlus 6, definitely very, very strong for that multitasking. The Huawei P20 Pro is running the Kirin 970 chipset of Huawei's own division, again backed by 6 gigs of RAM. As you see there, not quite as strong as the Snapdragon 845, sadly. Certainly the Geekbench scores show a considerable difference between them. In everyday running, I found the performance has been absolutely fine. Gaming is strong, especially thanks to Huawei's GPU Turbo update, which gives you a nice consistent frame rate in the likes of PUBG Mobile. So certainly things like PUBG will play on high detail levels on all three of these handsets. And what about the battery tech? Well, again, very strong on all three of these smartphones. The Huawei P20 Pro wins overall in terms of size and battery longevity. It's got a 4000 mAh cell that'll keep you going 2 days as long as you don't absolutely hammer it, day and a half quite easily, even with quite intensive use. Google Pixel 3 XL and the OnePlus 6 are more evenly matched. It's 3430 mAh on the Google, and on the OnePlus 6 it's a 3300. Both phones will happily last you for a day, even with intensive use, and should stretch to a day and a half, even if you're hammering them a fair bit. And of course, you've got the usual battery saver modes and everything if needed, so you can see exactly what's sapping on your battery, and you can cull some of those features when needed. You get fast charging on all three of these smartphones as well. Huawei Supercharge works really well, just as well as the Dash Charge here on the OnePlus. Then you got the standard quick charge, of course, here on the Pixel 3 XL. And you got full support for wireless charging here on the Pixel 3 XL as well. And you can pick up the optional Pixel stand for 69 quid, otherwise just a standard Qi charger will do you the job. And that's a feature that you don't get here on the OnePlus 6 or the P20 Pro. Now when it comes to the camera tech, these three phones really couldn't be much more different. So it really is a case of 1, 2, 3. The Google Pixel 3 XL just sports a single 12.2 megapixel camera, f1.8 aperture, with a bit of built-in optical image stabilization. In the case of the OnePlus 6, it's a dual lens setup. You get a 16 megapixel and a 20 megapixel camera working together, both with f1.7 apertures, quite strong for that low light. And again, you get a bit of OIS thrown in there as well to help steady your shots, just to prevent any blur. But the Huawei P20 Pro is definitely the big of the bunch. It's got 3 camera lenses here on the back. You get a 40 megapixel RGB lens with an f1.8 aperture, backed by a 20 megapixel monochrome lens with f1.6 aperture, and finally an 8 megapixel telephoto lens with a bit of built-in OIS. Of course, 3 lenses aren't necessarily better than one. All 3 of these smartphones do shoot very nice, sharp photos in a range of conditions. Night shots are definitely very strong, and Google is actually bringing a dedicated night shot modes to the Pixel 3 XL, which hopefully will compare with the night modes here on the P20 Pro. The P20 Pro is definitely our favourite for low light shots at the moment, thanks to the fantastic aperture and has brilliant night modes, which allows you to get a long exposure shot even when you're holding it by hand. You do get some bonus camera modes, of course. All 3 of these smartphones rock a portrait mode. In the case of the Pixel 3 XL, of course, it just uses Google's software smarts because it doesn't have a dual lens setup. But all 3 of them can give you a nice background bokeh blurred effect. If you want full pro controls, then your only choices are the OnePlus or the Huawei P20 Pro. The Google phone will allow you to sort of mess around with color temperatures, and you can also tap to focus and then change the brightness, but that's pretty much it. Whereas in the case of the OnePlus 6 and the Huawei P20 Pro, you've got the full manual controls, and you can shoot a nice bit of raw imagery as well. I guess Google is going more for simplicity over smarts. Now the same, you do get a handful of bonus modes such as the slow motion and of course the playground mode, which is just kind of an AR style thing. We jump on into the video section as well. All 3 of these phones are capable of shooting up to 4K resolution video. However, while the Pixel 3 XL and the Huawei P20 Pro top off at just that 4K level, you can actually shoot 4K at 60 frames per second here on the OnePlus 6. When it comes to image stabilization as well, the OnePlus and the Pixel 3 XL are our favourites. Nice smooth video, even at that 4K level. As in the case of the P20 Pro, sadly things get very shaky once you bump up above Full HD at 30 frames per second. And if we flip them all around to the front-facing cameras as well, again, it's a very different story in all 3 of these handsets. So here on the Huawei P20 Pro, you get a 24 megapixel f2.0 front-facing shooter, so nice crisp images. It's a 16 megapixel snapper here on the OnePlus 6. Again, shoots nice crisp selfies even in those sort of lower light conditions. But the most interesting setup is here on the Google Pixel 3 XL. It's actually got a dual front-facing camera setup. Both are 8 megapixels, but one is a wide-angle lens. So using the standard 8 megapixel shooter at the moment, it's an f1.8, and then once you start to zoom out, as you can see there, just transitions to the secondary wide angle lens. That's actually an f2.2, so not as strong in low light. So you can probably notice a slight difference in quality when you flip between the 2. But it's definitely more flexible than the others in terms of you get that nice wide angle view, as you can see, much better than the other 2. So good for those goofy shots if you're trying to shoot a landmark or something behind you. Oh god, I actually used the word goofy. I apologise, I've made myself feel sick with that one. Ugh. And that in a nutshell is the OnePlus 6, the Google Pixel 3 XL and the Huawei P20 Pro side by side. Hopefully that's given you an idea of how they all stack up. The Google Pixel 3 XL and the Huawei P20 Pro are quite pricey, although the P20 Pro is rapidly dropping in price with the imminent arrival of the Mate 20 and the Mate 20 Pro, so that's good news. The OnePlus 6 still starts at just $479, which is fantastic value for money. And here the Pixel 3 XL, unfortunately very expensive. $869 is the cheapest one, the 64 gig model. But if you want the 128 gig model, that's going to be $969, almost as expensive as the iPhones. So definitely let us know what you think in the comments down below. Which one are you tempted by? Do you think the Pixel 3 XL stands a chance against the other two? Or has Google just kind of lost the plot? Be interested to hear your thoughts. I'm going to do a full in-depth camera comparison between the Pixel and the Huawei P20 Pro and probably the iPhone XS as well, so stay tuned for that. And don't forget to subscribe, ding that notifications bell, and generally have an awesome day. Thanks guys, love you!